Kill Complacency, a podcast that inspires growth and intentionality and helps you overcome your greatest obstacles.
My guest today is Dr. Gigi Sabbat, and I know her from a podcast that she has called Walk With Me, does coaching and speaking and holds conferences. So she's kind of a big deal. And I wanted to get her on because very much with what she does and I do, we align. And so I thought like she had a good message for us today. Dr. Gigi, could you tell us more about you and your backstory? We can kind of go from there.
Absolutely. As you mentioned, I'm Dr. Gigi Sabbat, motivational keynote speaker, and I'm also the CEO and founder of Life Service Center of America. And essentially, a few years ago, I almost lost my life, death by strangulation and domestic violence relationship. And after everything that happened, I stepped into God's purpose for my life. And I launched a podcast, the books, and the company Life Service Center of America. And then God led us to host events. It started off with domestic violence and sexual assault, topics I'm a survivor of. But then he led us to host them on various subjects, Marty. Leadership, business, confidence, human trafficking, pregnancy, autism. We just did one on endometriosis as well as marriage, hosted with Mark. Yes, and then neurodivergent, and now youth as well. So many subjects, and that's just us listening to God and what He needs us to do here.
That's powerful.
Thank you.
Talk to me about how you went from a struggle to turning that into purpose, or how did you decide to do that? What was the healing process through that? How did you use that hardship to decide to help others?
Great question, and bullseye, you hit it on the nail. It was definitely a hardship for sure, and literally, I'm just grateful for my family, friends, community support as well, and also the church as well. And so I got baptized. So I went through a process, like literally giving the battle to Him. And then I got back again as an adult. Mind you, I was already baptized as a child. And I remember getting baptized again. And someone looked at me before I got back. They were like, "You ready?" I'm like, "I'm ready. Let's do it." And then I remember coming out on the other side and they're like, "How does it feel?" And I was like, "I feel great." And then someone also asked me, "What does it feel like on the other side of trauma, with all the trauma that you've been through?" In one word, I said, "Peace." So that came up.
What part of your story do you wish people understood better, but you don't often get to talk about?
Honestly, I think that the people I've come across, I think that they get it. And I think that their deep understanding, I said, wow, it's incredible. Their deep understanding. And what I've seen is how God is able to utilize individuals, right? And have us collaborate on such a deep level. Interesting and very intriguing how God is able to do that. And where we have a meeting of the minds. I'm grateful for folks like you, Marty, where we're like, yeah, let's hop on a podcast, right? And just, it's not about it. It's about the people that we serve. And for example, too, like for the marriage conference, right? Mark and I, we had a meeting of the minds and we collaborated, right? And it's such an honor to have hosted that event with him. And now we did an event on marriage, right? The marriage subject, where we now had individuals from all over the world talk about marriage. And it's not about us, it's the people that we serve. Yeah, I think that it is understood. And I think it's understood in such a deep level, one that can pass the dictionary. I wish I could find a word for it, Marty. That's how deep it is, that it's deeply understood.
Yeah, that's good. What was the healing process for you? I mean, I know it's a process. I guess what I'm getting at with this, or where I want to go with this, is what's some advice you could give to others about healing if they've been through a bad situation, they've had hardship? What's maybe the first thing they need to do?
Absolutely. Great question. And so essentially, I actually wrote a book, Healing and Growth, Inspiring Stories for Massive Transformation, with friends. And my mom, she came forward about her own healing journey as well. And here's my advice. So I believe that everyone's healing journey is truly unique. And I believe that it's important to meet people where they are and just trust the process and give it to God, let go and let Him.
It's good. Talk to me about your mom. Was that bonding for you to get to work through some of that? You mentioned she came out with her story too. Was that something you guys really connected on as a result of it? Was it kind of you starting it and then her realizing what she could give as well? Tell me about that story.
Absolutely. So that came about because of a book we wrote together prior. So there's another book. It's called Overcoming Heart Blocks, Inspiring Stories for Healing from Trauma. And we wrote that one with friends as well. And I was just going through the process. Literally, a lot of emotion came up with that one as well. Because here's what I tell people all the time. You have to face it. As difficult as it may be, you have to face the trauma. And so I remember just talking to my mother, just telling her I'm working on a chapter. And her own trauma came up. She shared with me, and then she went to work. She's a nurse. And we didn't talk about it for a couple of days. And then I was working on my chapter. And I said, you know what? I want to include my mother in my chapter. And I called my mother, she's at work, be mindful of her time, making sure she wasn't with a patient at the time. She was good to go. We were on a call and she wasn't with a patient. I said, Mom, can you tell me what you shared with me the other day? Because I want to include your story about your trauma in my chapter. And then she says, okay, I'll write it down. Marty, I kid you not. She sends me back a document and literally, I said, this is a chapter the size to go in my book. I said, God put it right in front of me. I was like, this is a chapter. So right there, Mom became an author in Overcoming Heart Blocks, Inspiring Stories for Healing from Trauma. And then we also went through continuously the healing process here, the healing journey here. And Mom became an author of that as well. Also shared, she had her own healing journey. So we went through the process together with friends and it did make our bond stronger, mother and daughter. We were actually closer because of that. So yes.
Talk to me about, I want to use the word isolation. I feel like isolation kills some time and maybe I'm assuming a lot, but I feel like a lot of times what happens when somebody gets hurt is they go into isolation and they don't talk about it. Do you see that to be true? And talk to listeners maybe that are in that right now. They don't want to share their hurt.
Yes, it can go to isolation if you don't allow room, right? Like you want to assist others, right? And you have to be able to receive that help as well. Just like you're able to give, you have to be able to receive. And I think that a support system is huge. And that's why I'm such an advocate for a lot of the subjects that you see us covering as well, right? Understanding that and meeting people where they are and to remind people that they're not alone. And you'll often hear me say things like that and actually that they're not alone. And one of my favorite verses is actually Joshua 1:9 that says, haven't I commanded you be strong and courageous? Do not be afraid or discouraged, for your Lord your God is with you wherever you go. And it's such a reminder that you're not alone. He's with you. And so if you're listening to this message today, we don't want you to go into isolation. You're not alone. You have a community. We support you. God's got you as well. You're going to get through this. You're not alone. God first. So I'm grateful for the support system that I have as well and beautiful souls. And I always tell my mom, loved ones as well. Every time they never let me leave the ball drop. They just don't. They just don't. And I just so appreciate, in such a difficult time, they were there and I will forever be grateful. And I just want to give back 100%.
Yeah. Talk to me about that, giving back. Because not everybody has that mindset, right? Not everybody comes out of hurt, pain with purpose of wanting to give back. So how has that helped heal you?
Just grateful, a lot of gratitude. And because I've been there myself, so the folks that I work with, I'm able to understand them on such a deep level. And so often hear me say that as well, where I'm able to understand them on that deep level. And it's just, I don't want to assume I know where you are. I want to hear from you. And oftentimes just allowing that individual that space to just be themselves and to share what they have to share. And for everyone, it's not always the same for everyone as far as when they're able to share, how they're able to share. It looks differently. Just the other day, actually, I saw someone write something down in emotion, like they drew it out. They drew out how they felt they were going through a difficult time. And that's such a reminder, again, to meet people where they are and everyone expresses themselves differently.
I read a book a couple of years ago. It's called How We Love. It's a marriage book. They talk about maybe kind of the thesis of the book would be that there was a time in your life in your childhood when you were hurt, and based on how you were comforted, that's the question in that chapter is how were you comforted when you were hurt? You tend to respond to hurt in different ways. And they call it styles. And for me, it's an avoider and something they prescribe that I do, the avoiders, because what happens for us is the emotion that we're encouraged to share is just anger. Everything else is out of place. And so what happens for me personally is I will just avoid something until I get angry. And what you said made me think of this because they have things called soul words. And now when there's conflict in our marriage, my wife will say, how you feeling? And of course, I just want to say it's fine because I'm an avoider. Just pretend it's not there. Stuff it until it explodes, right? There's words on the fridge now, and I get to identify my emotion. I'm feeling frustrated. I'm feeling denied. I'm feeling betrayed, whatever. And it's been really helpful. So I think that's helpful too sometimes. Sometimes we need to draw it. Sometimes we need to write it. But sometimes it's just pointing to the word, right? And saying, this is how I really feel. Because I've got these wounds that, they just never have been really handled or dealt with.
I definitely understand. I actually have another friend of mine as well, and he shares on a public forum as well, similar to you, his anger, right? And he says he went through that period for a long, long time. And finally he said, you know what? I don't want to be angry like this anymore. And he literally faced it. He just had to say, okay, I need to handle this a little bit differently. There's an incredible book, Emotional Intelligence 2.0, and also Beyond Emotional Intelligence by my friend, Dr. Drew Gohl. The books are phenomenal. And it really is such a reminder, and it encourages us to really balance our emotions and keep, folks will say, emotions in check, right? But really keep that in balance. And again, just meet people where they are with their emotions, right? Like you said, everyone expresses themselves differently. We've seen folk, maybe they're angry, right? They go out for a walk, or maybe they go and drive their vehicle, right? To get away for a little bit. Everyone releases that a little bit differently, or maybe it's music, maybe it's a song that they listen to really release that emotion. And like I said, those books that I just mentioned, those are phenomenal and they assist tremendously. Someone just asked me the other day, with the type of work that you do and a lot of the messages that you hear, how do you keep your sanity? Like, how are you able to keep your emotions balanced? And I just told them the truth. And I've read those books as well. And so, and also my faith has a huge role in that, because it just giving it to God and understanding what he's called me to do here.
Talk to me about your faith. Did this grow much more from the difficulty, or was it always there?
It was always there. I grew up going to school, private school, also then went to public school, but also too was in the church. My family's huge in the church. My great aunt, who's like my other mother, she's no longer with us, Marty, but she was huge in the Bible. She'd read the Bible every day, through the rosary every single day. 3 p.m. she was praying. She really instilled in us, like my parents as well, faith. And literally my faith means the world to me. And I remember going back to when I was launching the company, Life Service Center of America too. I understood what God called me to do here. And I sat there, and there were so many things that he aligned, right? But so many things in society that could have kept me from keeping the faith in business, right? But I said, no. I'm not doing this without my faith. I'd rather not run my business. I'd rather not operate Life Service Center of America, rather not exist, because then it's not based on truth. If I don't have my faith in it, then I'm not Gigi. You see what I'm saying? So I was like, nope, I'm doing it. I'm doing it with my faith.
That's good. My book's about to be released, and I had that same thing. I had a subtitle, and when the editors went through it, they said, hey, you need to send your subtitle because you talk about faith so much in here. People need to know this is a Christian book. And I wrestled with that, Gigi, because I thought, I want the cover, right, to catch everybody. And I have had some pushback on that. People are like, I'll never read your book now. But to your point, I love what you said there. I don't want to do this without my faith. It's a big part of it. And I don't want to deny Christ in that way. So we're loud and clear.
Exactly. So. Loud and clear. And oftentimes that same individual who said that may turn around and say, Marty, now I understand. And you and I, as believers in understanding, be there for them, right? It's not, well, I told you, no, we don't operate like that, right? And so it's just meeting that person where they are at the time with their faith. And so it's different for everyone. And so I've had that happen where someone's told me, well, you should have done this with the business. You should have done that. And then they come around and they say, well, hey, I understand now. I'm like, okay, because I'll never tell you. Well, I never say that. I'll just tell you, okay, because I know life. I know how life is. And I know the journey and meeting people where they are. And the book, God First, that I wrote was actually written in a particular way. There a lot of research was, and I remember a cousin of mine, she said, I read your Walk With Me book and I haven't read God First yet. And her understanding, she just wanted to know, is it for everyone? And I told her, read the book and then come back to me. And then she says, now I understand that it is for everyone. And it really challenges the reader to go a little bit deeper than what meets the eye, right? They say, anyhow, don't judge a book by its cover. Go a little bit deeper than what you're seeing here. And so I love how you kept the image, Marty, because again, you're challenging the reader. Go a little bit deeper, right? And so with the term utilized as well for God, I have friends from various countries. And so here's the thing. We're still talking about God here. We're talking about a higher power. They just utilize a different term. So respecting that as well. And that's what I emphasize in the book as well. So we hear God, 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 God. But what about other terms that are utilized for a higher power? A la, I have a friend of mine, we went to college, for example. Her and I, we love one another the same. Right? I'm a Christian and she believes in a higher power. We still love one another, understand each other.
Would you say, you always had your faith when you went through the difficulty, the trial, the pain, your anchor became Jesus, right? Is that when your faith really took off?
It was always there. My bond with God got even stronger, and literally it has just grown tremendously, continuously is growing, right? And when we read the Bible, like Joyce Meyer says, when we continuously read his words, right? We're continuously building a relationship with him. So like with any other relationship, right? There's always room for growth there. And so, and continuously building it. It's not one and done or just flipping pages, right, in the Bible. And so folks will tell me, didn't you read the Bible already? Yes, I read it as a child and again as an adult, and I continuously read it. And they say, you continuously read it? Yes, I do, right? Continuously building that relationship with him. I also have the Bible app on the phone. You know the app, Marty? It's incredible. I love it.
No, that's really good. And I think that there's a verse in James that says, consider it pure joy, my brothers, when you face trials of many kinds, because the testing of your faith develops perseverance, and perseverance must finish its work so you be perfect and complete, lacking nothing. I think that's something we often fail to realize is the importance of trials in our life for drawing us to God. If things are good, right? Who needs God? So it is, as Jocko Welling would say, it is good when there's trials, because a lot of times they bring us back to the important things, and things of faith often grow out of that.
Like you said, those trials, right? Or just challenges that you're going through. Sometimes you said you go through that, but it also makes you stronger, your relationship with him stronger, or your faith. An individual, he spoke on one of our events, public forum. He was incarcerated, was in prison, and literally then his faith grew tremendously while he was in prison. And he's out now. He's now a pastor. He's speaking all over the world to the youth as well. And just letting them know, hey, I've been through this. This is what I did. And he's very open. Like, I mean, he's very vulnerable, transparent. And he's like, this is what I did. This is what I've done. And this is how God would turn my life around. And I love that. In fact, it's in the Bible. It says, go out and tell the world about the great works that I've done. And that's why I'm not stopping. I'm not going to stop sharing what I'm sharing, because he says it in the Bible. Go out and tell the world about the great works that I've done. And it's so important.
Yeah. And I bet your pastor friend wouldn't trade the difficulties, because they have grown him into who he is. If he'd continued and never gotten caught, like, his life would look completely different.
Exactly. And he's so happy. He's a speaker. He's a motivational speaker.
That's awesome. At what point did your healing turn into helping other people? Was that like a light switch for you, or did it just slowly, gradually, you realize as you started sharing your story? Like, talk to me about that. How did you take your healing and turn it into a business that helps other people?
Yeah, great question. So essentially all my life, I love to assist others. I think where I'm seeing something that is sticking out, it's where I'm able to understand individuals on a deeper level. So I already understood, but now it's a little bit deeper, and literally God has presented it to me what he needs me to do here as a motivational speaker. But not just that, they also say oftentimes other people see it before you do, right?
Sure.
Yes, and not just that, but God literally aligned everything in front of me. And oftentimes they'll also say, right, it's right in front of you, but purpose. A lot of my friends, they call that purpose, right? They said, Gigi, you're living your purpose. I hear that all the time. And so I think that it's so important to stay in purpose, not one foot out and one foot in. I always encourage, because when I see that, when I see a foot out and one foot in, oh my goodness, is this what he's called me to do? Should I do this? Then there's maybe some fear, or I don't know how. Who do I trust? You trust him. You put your trust in him, trust the process. And also I always say faith over fear, faith over fear, faith over fear.
That's good. I want to talk a little bit about, because I know you're into physical training too. How does the discipline of physical training connect to emotional strength?
Wow, 100%. And so your health really has an effect on those emotions, right? Because already if you don't feel good about yourself and you're constantly talking bad to yourself, you don't have confidence, and you're constantly telling yourself, I've heard they're ugly, they're fat, they don't have confidence, they lack the self-esteem, they can't do this. I've heard that. Can't do this. I'm not going to get through this. How can this happen? And so these are the words that we need to shift, where we're not telling ourselves, I can do this. God's got this. I'm going to get through. I am beautiful. I know I can. You have to have some level of confidence. And it's not to say I'm tooting my own horn here or whatnot, but if you do the work, then you should be proud of yourself going into something with confidence, because you know that you took the time, you worked hard. And so, for example, going into a test, I know the amount of work that I put in. So I'm my biggest critic. I know, I say, okay, I put in the work. So I know going in, or even with my training, I say, I know I train, where I would have been hard on myself if I didn't attempt to do anything. Then I would say, Gigi, don't even show up for the marathon. Don't even show up for the exam. If you didn't even work on it, you didn't even give your best effort. You won't see me. I won't be there.
Yeah. And I think that's true. That's the beauty of training our bodies physically, is it adds so much confidence, because it does compound. We do get stronger. We do get better. But to your point, if we don't, we know we didn't. We know we're living a lie, in a sense that we're not who we could be. We're not our best version.
Yes. And then you live with those emotions of, well, I could have done this. I could have done that. Well, what if this? Well, no, don't get there. Intervene early on and have those positive emotions balance, right? We call that balance. And again, those books I mentioned earlier on emotional intelligence, highly recommended, because they do help with those type of things as well in regards to health and fitness journey. And you're right, I do have a journey, and I've just given it all to God. I've just let go and let him. And I have a quote as far as keeping God's pace during the run, just literally just running. I haven't stopped since. I'm grateful for my trainer, Coach Chelsea Denlinger, coming from injury. She never had me look at the injury. She said, get out there and run, lady. And because of her training training and her meeting me where I was at the time, I've been able to run a 5K, 10K, half marathon, full marathon, and now training for my first triathlon this year, October 11th, 2026.
That's so cool. That's so cool.
Thank you, Marty.
Trainer helps too, right? I mean, we need coaches in our life, people who hold us accountable, but also believe in us and encourage us to do the hard. That's good.
Absolutely. Yeah. And even on the days, she says, do it on the days you don't feel like it. Well, and she's like, let's go, get out there and run. And I did better on the other side.
Or, it's raining out, so I'm not going to run today. It's like, what if it rains on race day? We got to train.
Patience. Yeah. It just rained the other day. My friend and I, we do a 5K on the weekends and it rained, and her and I looked at each other and we're like, all right, well, let's do an indoor workout. Let's just do a strength training. And I kid you not, we went change the location. Where we went, there was no rain, Marty. So we were still able to run the strength training and do a 5K. God is good.
That's awesome. How has training your body taught you about training your mind?
I have a friend of mine's, Mindy East, right? She has such a powerful quote that I'd love to share with you as far as the body, right? And the mind. When we talk about mindset, it's so important to keep a positive mindset. And even with training, right? How are you showing up? It goes back to self-talk. How are you talking to yourself? Because if you're already going in gym and you're telling yourself, I can't do this, you're not going to be able to do it. If you want to do a certain amount of reps, or if you want to bench something, you want to lift a certain amount, but you're going in and you're telling yourself already, I don't got this, I'm scared, the result is, it's not going to be so great. But if you're going in and say, I'm going to give this the best thing that I've got here with my best effort, I'm going to give it all I got. Well, guess what? The result is you might just get exactly that result that you were looking for. Again, but progression, right? Wherever you leave off with that result, it may not be exactly it, but keep working on it. Here's a quote by my friend that I was talking about, Mindy's. It's called, your mind gets tired before your body does. And again, that's your mind gets tired before your body does, which I have written down as well because it's such a great reminder.
That's good. What advice, for me, I think physical training has been really helpful healing. I was talking to a friend of mine today, my brother-in-law actually, and he said, I never realized that lifting weights could be such a stress reliever. That's why people often lift weights, in their garage sometime, like they just got to go blow off some steam. But what advice would you have for somebody that maybe feels stuck? Maybe they've got some hurt from their past. They know they should exercise. How do they get started moving their body so that they can make their mind sharper?
Wow, that's a great question. And so with my journey with fitness, there is something else tied to it as far as the trauma goes, right? People tell me they see my results now, but I tell you, you would never have seen those results if I never faced the trauma, because of intertwines just everything. But for that, it's a lot of work that was done. I'm grateful for the coaches that met me where I was in life as well, and with the trauma. So it all goes hand in hand with fitness. That's a whole nother thing. If you're a fitness coach and you're working with someone on their fitness, keep in mind that if that individual has been to some sort of trauma, and oftentimes it could be that barrier, right? It could be the barrier. It's so deep sometimes that it can really affect someone during this lifetime for a long period of time. And so I'm just grateful for my trainer, again, meeting me where I was, and we were able to get through that barrier, knock that thing down. And because of that, it's no longer there. And now I'm able to give back, right? As far as mindset and accountability, I'm not a fitness coach, but where I can assist is tell you, hey, you got this. I've been there. You will get through this. And if there's some trauma that you have yet to face that you've been through, you've been through the trauma. And as difficult as it may be, and that's why I say these words, because I know, as difficult as it may be, face the trauma. My question to you is, are you truly living the life God has called you to live, right? And so as difficult as it may be, yes, it may come with emotions. Sometimes people say, well, I don't want to go through those emotions. I don't want to face it because it comes with all that sadness, all that. Well, on the other side, right? And that's what we call vulnerability, transparent. And so just give it to him. It's not as difficult as it may be. There's another thing, right? Be comfortable being uncomfortable.
That's good. Talk to the listener, Dr. Gigi, about who knows all this. They have trauma. They've been keeping it to themselves. What's the first step? What do they need to do?
Well, here's the thing. I mean, I think that just leaving it in God's hands, and that's what I did. And he just blessed me with an amazing trainer who just really understood. And I'm just grateful. And so my only thing is, and my only wish and my prayer is that as far as the trauma component goes, that we continuously have these discussions. A health journey or fitness journey, is there more to it than meets the eye? Sometimes there is. Sometimes there is. And that's just the reality. And so meeting people where they are. And it's not just me. I'm grateful for the other people I've met who've gone through something similar. I met a gentleman. He speaks on a public forum. He's now in the military. Bless his soul. Very transparent and vulnerable with me. He went through something similar that I did as far as sexual assault goes. His health, his fitness journey. And I was like, all right, So I'm not crazy. He's like, no, you're not crazy. I went through the same thing. And so, like I said, and now he's in the military, but had to face everything that he went through beforehand.
It's hard. Talk to the listener that knows they need to do. They've been doing it, but there's days that they feel stuck, unmotivated. How do you push through on those days when you're not motivated, when it's hard, when you're feeling off for whatever reason? What's your secret? What's your advice?
My faith, God, literally. And it says in the Bible too, you may weep for a day, for a night, but joy comes in the morning. And I've seen it over and over again. Yeah, this is a reality, right? Something may happen, it just may not be a great day, so to speak. You may call it that, right? Whatnot. Joy comes in the morning. And so for me, a lot of times, especially when I lose a loved one, it's a very, very difficult time for me. And I always just give it to him. And he's showing me over and over and over again, joy comes in the morning. Yes.
Yeah. His mercies are new every morning. Great is his faithfulness. What is something you are doing right now that your future self is going to thank you for?
Wow. Great question. And so literally everything that I'm doing now, everything that God has led me to do, and just listening in, and I've seen it over and over again. I've been doing this for 7 years now, as far as Life Service Center of America goes. Again, meeting people where they are and serving, right? My word of the year, every year is serve. And so literally the process, enjoying the process, and listening to what he's called me to do. He's never steered me wrong. So I don't want to do things on my own direction. I don't want to do that. Things get very chaotic when we do that. So I just want to continuously do what he's called me to do here in his direction. As far as the events go, coaching goes, and podcasts, and not just my own podcast, but also being a guest on other people's podcasts like we're doing right now. I think that there's so many different ways you can serve. It's not just one way. You don't just physically have to be out there in the community to be able to serve. That is another great way to serve, but that's not the only way. And so you can do it through books. You can do it through podcasts. You can do it through social media. We do just that. Any way that I can serve, I'm more than happy to do so, as long as it's in alignment. And Marty, I'll share this with you. When I was coming out with books and things like that and writing, I came across a lot of folks who wanted to do like collaborative books, right? And I said yes to the ones that were in alignment. So that discernment is huge, right? And I said, oh my goodness, I couldn't imagine, because imagine collaborating with something that's just completely off alignment. It's not good. It's almost like, remember, you're now meeting somebody where they are. So if the tool is not equipped the way it's intended to be equipped, how God has called it to be, so now you're giving them something already broken. It has to be in alignment. You have to be able to utilize discernment.
Yeah, and I've been in those relationships or partnerships where we're not aligned, and it's miserable. When you were saying, looking for a word, that's what I thought. It's just miserable because you know better, and you feel like your morals are having to be compromised because their signature is on XYZ as well. So it's just hard.
And I'm not perfect, right? And so before all of this, right, I've had instances, right, where, and sometimes it's not in its face where you see that. They don't express that, right? They come as it is, and then you find out later on, okay, well, it's so important, again, to be very mindful and listen in and utilize that discernment. So important.
That's good. If you could go back and give your younger self, your 20-year-old self, some advice, what advice would you give her?
Great question. And so I would just say that there is hope. You're going to get through this. I was sexually assaulted when I was 8. And again, as an adult, if you've been through something similar, you've got this, you will get through it. And like I said to my younger self, I would tell her, and too, you will get through this.
Yeah, that's good. What is a favorite quote of yours or a book that has helped you become who you are today?
Wow.
I know you love books, and I know you've mentioned the Bible. So maybe, can I say something besides the Bible?
That's a really good one. I love that. And there is a quote. I'm going to share it with you here. Great question. So by Marianne Williamson, it says, and putting everything aside, right? Religion, politics, everything aside. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God. Your playing small does not serve the world. There's nothing enlightening about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We are all meant to shine as children do. We were born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. It is not just in some of us, it is in everyone. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. And that's the quote by Marianne Williamson.
It's powerful. Something I've been thinking a lot about lately is who's missing out because I'm not showing up. And, that's just powerful in regards to thinking about living a purpose-driven life. Like, there's consequences to me not being my best version of me. Kids, family, wife, employee, everybody. So it's important that we do learn that. That's a powerful quote.
Thanks. And yeah, it's fear, right? Sometimes fear can really keep someone from living the life God has called them to live here. And so faith over fear, remember that.
Yeah, that's good. One last question for you. If this is your final message, what do you want the world to know? What's your signature?
Never give up. I don't want you to give up. I want you to know that you got this, that you will always get through. I had a poem, right? Wasn't expecting that. So I have a poem on, it's called Never Give Up. So I'd like to share it with you, right? That I recently wrote as well. Wasn't expecting that one to share the recent one, but I'll share that after. So this one is called Never Give Up. Poem by Dr. Gigi Sabbat. Walls surround me. That's all I see. All I want is to be free. I scream at the top of my lungs, God, please help me. The back of my mind wants to give up. Then my heart reminds me that I'm one of a kind. I feel closed in with nowhere to go. Then I remember the beauty of life is to grow. It doesn't matter if you grow slow. Growing is the purpose of life in everyone. It doesn't matter how old you are, the color of your skin, religion, your political views, the amount of money you make, car you drive, how many friends you have, how many followers you have on social media, your job title, how tall or how short you are, your gender, your sexuality, your age, your fashion style, your body structure, the type of music you listen to, your family's culture, or anything else that our society's education system has altered our minds to focus on. Always remember, you are in control of your mind's reticular activating system. You focus on what you want to see, hear, and believe in. Therefore, growth is in everyone. Never give up. The light may seem dim right now. All you need to do is wake up the reticular activating system in your mind, and you too will realize you are one of a kind. Never give up. And then I wasn't expecting to share this one. This one is more recent. It's actually called From Trauma to Peace. Remember I told you earlier, someone asked, what does it feel like on the other side of trauma? And simply one word, peace. And now this is the longest poem I sat with when I was writing it. Someone told me it could be because of the emotions that are tied to it deeply. So this one is called From Trauma to Peace, a TIME, that's Time Journey of Faith and Healing poem by Dr. Gigi Sabbat. The other side, choose health or choose death. That sounds dramatic, but trauma forces decisions. Pain will ask you, will you stay here? Or will you fight your way through? Trauma is inevitable. Challenges will come, but with faith, all things are possible. So I made a decision. I would face it head on, not tomorrow, not when it felt convenient, but starting today, because healing requires action, and I refuse to remain shattered. The T in time is trauma. My trauma began at 8 years old, sexual assault, and then sexually assaulted again as a professional. Then came the heart blocks, and life was never the same. Anxiety tried to move in permanently. Fear tried to introduce itself as my identity, but awareness interrupted the cycle. Faith anchored me. Scripture strengthened me. God held me. And I made a choice. I would not run. I would not numb. I would face it. Because on the other side is freedom. On the other side of anxiety is clarity. On the other side is peace. The I in time is injury and marathons. Trauma didn't just touch my emotions. It touched my body, but I refused to let pain define me. So I ran 5K, 10K, half marathon, full marathon, 21-day fitness challenges. Now training for my first triathlon. 1 mile at a time, one breath at a time, one step at a time. Every finish line whispered, you are stronger than what tried to break you. The M in time is mindset. After trauma, you have two options. Option 1, live positively, put God first. Or option 2, trauma become your identity. I chose God first. And that choice changed everything, because healing begins in the mind before it manifests in the body. The E in time, exercise, small steps. Exercise became symbolic, not just for fitness, but for faith. Small, consistent, intentional steps forward. Healing is not one giant leap. It is daily obedience, daily discipline, daily decisions. Faith carried me. Forgiveness freed me. Healing removed what trauma tried to block. Someone once asked me, what does it feel like on the other side? And I answered with one word, peace. Not perfection, not absence of memory, but peace. The other side is not painless, but the other side is powerful. Protect your peace, guard your healing, take the step, and I promise you, I'll see you on the other side. I believe in you. Dr. Gigi Sabbat. That's it.
That's powerful.
Thank
You're
you.
going to put that in a book?
Yeah, I may put it in a book. You never know. Thanks for that. I just said too, launched I said last book, right? Other people were like, you sure, Gigi, that's your last book? And it's called The Miracle Within, The Infinite Power of Faith. I've had folks tell me you should do one on poetry, but I don't know. I'm putting it in God's hands. I don't know. Will it be a poetry book or will it be something else? I think that there's so much you could do with poetry. I think that could it be a podcast? Could it be something like that? I don't know. He hasn't given direction as far as a book on poetry. So I'm just putting that one in God's hands. And I'm also sharing it as well at the poetry event we have coming up here. And I'm actually doing a talk on that topic as well, from trauma to peace.
Okay, that's good.
Thank you.
How do people find, follow, learn more about you and all you're doing?
Absolutely. So I am on social media. I am on all of them. The website here, Life Service Center of America, LLC.com. You can reach us via the contact us section and also LinkedIn.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for being on today and being an awesome guest. And I hope that people can listen to this message and just get some healing and become better because of it. So thank you so much.
You're welcome. This was great. Talk soon. God bless.
Just wanted to thank you guys for listening to the end. In closing, I just wanted to add that if this message resonates with you, if it aligns with your values and something in it today triggered something, then you can also look me up on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube. We are really trying to help people live more intentional lives, to kill the complacency with which they have subscribed to. I know there's many ways which I get sucked in all the time. So if this is beneficial, follow me there.